Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm not in the studio. I'm not in my kitchen. I'm not at Old Trafford. I'm still in Barcelona. I'm actually in the hotel in Barcelona. I was going to go out to a cafe and do it, but it's a bit nippy. It's a bit cold outside. You wouldn't think it'd be cold in Barcelona, but it is. It's February. So I've come to the hotel to do it. I've got some Spanish papers. I've got Marca, got AS, and I've got Mundo Deportivo. We're going to go through a few of the stories there. I've got Google Translate because you may not have known, but my Spanish is a little bit rusty, shall we say. So I've gone through Google Translate. Now, a lot of the Spanish papers I've read are still dominated, despite the big game at Old Trafford last night, by this sort of refereeing scandal, or Barca Gate as it's been dubbed here, with this payment to the vice president of referees. There's all sorts of quotes talking about that and investigations and all this sort of stuff. That seems to be the main news, even despite, you know, a pretty epic game at the Nou Camp last night between Manchester United and Barcelona. It's still all about this stuff. In fact, where's the better one? There's one here. Raise the tension. I think this is the headline here, according to Google Translate anyway. So yeah, they're still talking about these payments and what's going on here in the investigation and where there's going to be repercussions. But when it comes to Manchester United, there are obviously a lot of conversations going on around that, a lot of comments and reports. The big one I took from it is the fact that there's a lot of respect in the papers for Manchester United's performance. It seems there's probably more respect for Manchester United's performance in the Spanish papers than in some of the English press. I've seen some of the English press being sort of dominated by Eric Ten Hag, and I think the Mirror was Eric Ten Hag, I think it was, and talking about Ten Hag getting booked for being unhappy with Marcus Rashford not being awarded a penalty, or Jules Koundé not getting a red card in the second half, the second yellow it would have been for him. But in Spain, you know, the papers I've read have been giving a lot of credit to the way Manchester United performed. And also, there's a lot of concern in these papers about the fact that it looks like, we know Barcelona are going to be without Gavi and Pedri. Maybe Busquets comes back, but they're going to miss those two midfielders, those two players. And it's a lot about them in the papers as well, talking about that. Now, Marcus Rashford has been getting tons of praise in these papers. They've been calling him, in fact, I've made some notes because my Spanish, like I said, a bit rusty. So I had to go through Google Translate, you know, because you don't want to get anything wrong, do you? Just to see what the sort of the comments were about Marcus Rashford. And they were all sort of just absolutely full of praise. And talking about the fact he's got 14 goals in 16 games since the World Cup. One of them, I think it just simply says, the best Rashford unstoppable was one of the papers. I think I can find that actually. Which one was it? I think it was this one where they're talking about Marcus Rashford and just saying how, yeah, he was the best player on the pitch. There it is. Yeah, there's the you can see that. Probably not the best. If I can find that, there it is. There he is. Picture of Marcus Rashford, and it says El Major Rashford imparable. So yeah, waxing lyrical about Marcus. All the papers are, to be honest with you. He's been dubbed a nightmare for the Barca team, and too much Marcus for Barca, too much Rashford for Barca, one of the headlines said. So they're absolutely loving Marcus Rashford's performance, or in awe of it, I should say, rather than loving it. Also full of praise for Manchester United and the energy that Manchester United showed and the way we went about it. Talking about what a good game it was. So there's a lot of praise for Manchester United, a lot of concern about the fact they're going to be missing key players. I know that's not all the case in all the papers. I saw somewhere, I couldn't get Sport because I went to the newsstand and the lady there told me they'd run out of the paper Sport. But I've read elsewhere that Sport were unhappy with the Fred handball, in inverted commas, and think that was a bit of a scandal, the fact that the referee didn't give a penalty for that. Eric Ten Hag's also commented on the referee and that handball. He said, maybe that handball, if it should have been a handball, is some sort of evening it out for what should have been a penalty for Manchester United, or at least a red card. I'll go to Eric Ten Hag's quotes here. I've actually got it in front of me. He says, also, if I make a point that has a big influence, not only on this game, but on this round, at 2-1, it was a clear foul on Marcus Rashford. We can discuss if it's inside the box or outside the box, but it's a red card. I asked the referee why. So he said it was outside the box and it was no foul. And the linesman and referee were in a very good position to see. And I think we had VAR. I think it's not good. It was a really bad decision. Maybe they were impressed by the pressure Barca made, but they can't be like that at the highest European level. Then he goes on to talk about, was there a penalty against United? He says, maybe 2 mistakes, talking about not giving the penalty against United and not giving us one for it. But you can't equalise such mistakes because the moment in the game, in the whole round, was an important decision where he was wrong. So some controversy there. I mean, Barcelona have already got controversy going on with referees, but a bit more controversy there from both sides. Barcelona unhappy, they didn't get a penalty. United unhappy, we didn't get a penalty and a red card of Jules Koundé. But going into the second leg, one thing that's for sure is that Barcelona, while they're not giving up on it, know they've got a big job on their hands. All the papers are saying that. It's going to be very difficult going to Manchester United. But the tie's not over. I feel pretty confident. I think United played well last night. I think we'll be even better when Lisandro Martinez comes back into the team. Not disputing the fact that Luke Shaw didn't do a good job, and I thought Tyrone Alvarez was good as well. But I think you put Shaw at left back and you put Lisandro Martinez back into that team. Also, as well, maybe Marcel Sabitzer comes back into the side. Let us know what you think. Do you think he's got a chance of getting his place back in the team, or does the manager stick with Fred? We've got games coming thick and fast, so who knows? Maybe it'll rotate it a little bit. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that one. But I think Manchester United will be a stronger team going into that game. I also think Barcelona will be a weaker team going into that game because of players they've lost, and United will have home advantage. And also that sort of feeling and knowledge that we can take the game to Barcelona. If we can do that in the new camp, then what can we do at Old Trafford? We should be well up for it. I can't wait for that game. It's going to be absolutely pumping the atmosphere at Old Trafford, and hopefully we can get a win and go through to the next round. Now, the big news, of course, this morning, the main news is around the takeover of Manchester United. It's a soft deadline today, isn't it? Now, I've been looking about this because I was a bit confused as to what a soft deadline means. And apparently it's a deadline that can get extended if it needs to be. So, yeah, it's not really much of a deadline. It's not a hard deadline where like that is it. If you miss this, you're done. With a soft one, if you miss it, there's ways around it. I believe. Get involved in the comments if I'm getting that wrong. Well, that's what I've read. So it now seems that Saudi Arabia has joined the race to buy Manchester United. This is in the Telegraph. I think it's by Tom Morgan, and Sam Wallace says that Saudi Arabia has joined the race to buy United. And bids have already been tabled by other potential investors ahead of Friday's deadline. This was, I think, late last night. This came out. Talks about the fact you've got the Qataris trying to buy Manchester United. When I say the Qataris, I mean the Qatar ruling family. You've got Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I say the Qatar ruling family. There's a bit of sort of discussion going on as to who exactly, which entity will own Manchester United. But it seems it will be part of the ruling family. It might be a different company or whatever to the one that owned PSG, because you can't have the same owners technically. It's all very vague and weird, isn't it? Because people going, well, what about Red Bull and the way there's ways around this, and you can say, oh, they're separate from one another. We'll have to wait and see what goes on. Anyway, Qatar's in for it. Saudi Arabia apparently are interested as well. Again, what's going on there though with Newcastle? Well, according to the Telegraph, Saudi Arabia has joined the race. That's what it's saying. Whether Saudi Arabia proceeds with tabling offer remains to be seen. But intermediaries acting for several groups in the country have signed for sale materials. There was Saudi interest in Chelsea last year under the Vision 2030 agenda, championed by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Billions have already been spent on sport as the controversial country attempts to diversify away from oil. So is this going to be the same owners as Newcastle? Is it going to be where they go, well, actually, it's different. It's actually private investors. If it is private investors, I haven't got a problem with it. My issue is I don't want any state owning Manchester United for sports washing enterprises, which is what it'd be. Don't believe some of this journalism you've seen. I don't believe it anywhere, where it's like, well, actually, the ruler of Qatar, or one of the ruling families of Qatar, he's a massive United fan. That's the reason he's buying United. Come on, do me a favour. He's buying United because it's good PR for his country. And it'd be hypocritical of me to sit here and say, well, look at City, look at PSG, look at Newcastle, which I was very critical of, and then go, well, when it was United, it's all right. I thought Adam McCullough on the video they did last night about it spoke very well. It's not a case of, being against a certain country. I wouldn't want any country owning Manchester United. So yeah, I agree with that sentiment, definitely. We'll have to wait and see, though. There's talk that some investors may not want to overpay for Manchester United. I don't think anyone would want to overpay, but would not be willing to overpay for Manchester United. The value of Manchester United has risen on the stock exchange because of all this talk of a takeover. Apparently there's 300 million of things being quoted being added to the value. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But there's issues around Qatari ownership. There's issues around Saudi Arabian ownership. A lot of people seem to be going towards Jim Ratcliffe. I spoke about this yesterday. There were question marks around whether that would plough us into debt or keep the debt, I should say. the latest reports are that it won't, that we won't have to carry on with the massive amount of debt if Sir Jim Ratcliffe takes over Manchester United. You can have your own thoughts and comments on that. Get involved. Let us know what you think, because today is the soft deadline. Like I say, I think it's 10 p.m. tonight where we'll find out, or we should find out, who has bid for Manchester United. We know that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to. It looks pretty nailed on that Qatar is going to, and also fancy the chances. Saudi Arabia is now entering the fray. Elon Musk is lingering, I think, in the background. Could he come in with a late bid? Wouldn't put it past him, although it doesn't seem likely at this point. So lots of potential investors, lots of potential takeovers, lots of money coming into United. And that is probably going to be a good thing if it gives us transfers and does up the stadium, does up the training ground and all the other things we want. It's just a question about ethics. Yeah? Is this ethically right? Is this something you can get on board with as a Manchester United fan? United being used as a sports washing enterprise. It's not something I'm into at all. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I've made that pretty clear. But listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. Good to see that the Spanish press are realising how amazing Marcus Rashford is. I still feel pretty confident. I felt confident last night. It was great being in the new camp. And I think Manchester United have got a very good chance against Barcelona in that second leg in the Europa League. But it's not all done by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not all done in terms of who will come in and buy Manchester United. We should find out a little bit more later on. Anyway, I've been Jay Motty. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. There's loads of videos coming up. You've got the brew later on. I think we've got a special guest for the brew with Stephen Howson. I'm gutted I won't be there. But from Barcelona, I'll be going on a little mystery tour via Valencia to get back to Manchester soon. Thanks for watching.